engulfs the entire India story. Because Madhya Pradesh was one state which used to be considered historically disadvantaged. If you look at the map of India, when different states were carved out and different linguistic states were formed on basis of language, there was an area in the center of the country which got left out. And that disjointed area became one state. So they carved out Maharashtra on one side, undivided Madhya Pradesh, they carved out Odisha and Andhra Pradesh on another side. And therefore one part of Madhya Pradesh resembles Uttar Pradesh, another resembles Maharashtra. And this area was carved out. It had a large tribal population. It had very little development. And when in the planned regulated economy we coined the word Bimaru states, that is economically less progressive states, the M in that Bimaru referred to Madhya Pradesh. And this was not the story generations ago. I had always been an occasional visitor to Madhya Pradesh. My close association started in the year 2003, 13 years ago. My party had made me in charge of the state for its elections. And 13 years ago, when we needed to travel from one part of the state to another, unquestionably Madhya Pradesh had the worst set of roads. And we were advised you can't travel by road. And therefore from Bhopal to Indore also we used to come by either helicopter or some other means. Electricity power was available only for a few hours. And one of the biggest issues was that the farmers had no water, had no power to depend on getting water from underground. And just 13 years ago, we coined that slogan that the future of Madhya Pradesh will really be Bijli, Sadak and Pani. So we were going back to the basics that the state had to start from there. And from 2003 to 2013 to 16 today, 13 years, I don't think anybody today even considers putting Madhya Pradesh back into the range and category of those Bimaru states. Any state which has a double-digit growth year after year got out of that syndrome and stigma. It got out of the electricity shortage. The CII President Dr. Forbes just now, with his academic background, was giving the symbols of what would constitute developmental economy in Madhya Pradesh. If any of us remembers what the Chief Minister used to speak in his first few years as Chief Minister and the language that he spoke today, उन दोनों भाषाओं में अंतर था. And the reason was, the initial emphasis was Let us start a road connectivity. Let us generate more power. Madhya Pradesh is a successful story of transporting water from one part of the state to another, and literally of transporting water from one state to another. So Narmada has brought water into different parts of Madhya Pradesh. It also sent water to adjacent states like Gujarat. So transportation of water, generation of more power, more electricity, and this was accompanied by spending the resources of the state in empowering people. And therefore, the original speeches of the Chief Minister used to be how through various social sector schemes we pass on resources of the state to the weaker section of people. And therefore, empowerment and purchasing capacity in a decentralized manner was being created. But I think what was the turning point in the history of the state was a near 20% growth in agriculture for a couple of years. And it was this growth in agriculture which increased the rural purchasing power, which started bringing the first signs of prosperity to the farmers. And there's a very interesting connect between the agricultural economy and politics. Whichever state, there could be some exceptions, whichever state has seen a near double-digit growth in agriculture, it is only those states in which chief ministers have been repeatedly re-elected. And this is a universal pattern. Those who have invested in irrigation, those who have invested in power have seen a significant rise in agricultural incomes. And therefore, the level of social satisfaction has resulted in re-election of those chief ministers. And that became the story of Madhya Pradesh. So today, it has started boasting of good urban centers, a good infrastructure connectivity, excellent educational institutions. More and more are coming. Indore itself is now slowly becoming an educational hub. And the best of the state is now still to come. And therefore, Madhya Pradesh is fortunate to have a government with a leadership which has clarity as far as roadmap is concerned, which is decisive, which has business-friendly policies, and which is going out of the way to attract investment from both within the country and outside. And it is a very large land bank and area. And most important, it has a very strong consumer base whose purchasing power itself is increasing. And I have no doubt in my mind that everyone who invests in Madhya Pradesh will also invest keeping one future factor in mind. Hopefully next year, with the implementation of the GST, when India becomes one market, there will be a full flow of goods and services across the nation. Now, this seamless flow of goods and services across the nation will necessarily involve one important factor, that is the supply chains which have to be created. And there is no state which is better geographically located in the center of the country like Madhya Pradesh, which in due course will become a hub for a large number of companies which are involved in supply of goods and services across the country. Transporting goods from north to south or from east to west is always going to be more troublesome than doing it from the center in all directions. And therefore, what was historically the left out area in the center, which got carved as the Madhya Pradesh, when India becomes one consolidated market, will become the supply hub in all four directions as far as the country is concerned. We are today at a junction where states are competing with each other, and fortunately for us, many things in India have changed. For one, decision making has become easier. You have a more decisive government, a more decisive Prime Minister. There is a clarity as far as direction is concerned. And therefore, India is trying, with its renewed confidence, to fight adversity and gain an advantage which has so far eluded us. Various industrial revolutions bypassed us. Today, fortunately, we are being still able to maintain respectable levels of growth, even when the world is facing important and very significant economic challenges. I think as far as India is concerned, there are obviously a few advantages which have come our way. The political change in the country itself created a decisive environment. That's an advantage. The global oil and commodity prices have given an advantage to India since we are net buyers. Additionally, the resources which we have saved, we are able to invest in a large manner, both in infrastructure and in the rural economy. That's an advantage. The slowdown in several parts of the world has created a situation where a lot of foreign capital is coming into the country. And this year, fortunately, as a result of the good monsoon, we have a very surplus food grain production, which will improve domestic demand and also keep inflation under check. And a controlled inflation means moderation of interest rates also. The cost of capital reduces. With these advantages, we have an opportunity ahead of us, but we have our challenges also. The global slowdown hurts us, particularly in matters of international trade. When one of our colleagues here spoke of the pace, I wanted to remind him that normally industry is always ahead of the government. But we are at a moment of history where at the moment private sector is a little behind the government. And therefore, public investment pace has picked up. We are still waiting for your pace to pick up. And therefore, if that pace were to pick up, probably you'll have more engines in order to spur growth in India. I do believe that at this historical junction, we have advantages. And as was mentioned, this instinct and desire to grow, this aspiration has now flowed into the states. It has decentralized. And the transformation of states like Madhya Pradesh, just 13 years ago being considered a Bimaru state and today wanting to become an industrial hub. This is the real symbol of that aspirational desire. And I'm quite certain that each one of our friends who's investing in Madhya Pradesh and investing in India will probably have many pleasant stories to take back, because it's not only a quicker decision-making process. Madhya Pradesh also, with leadership of credibility, gives you a very cleaner decision-making process. And I think that's a difference between the times now and the times that were. I'm sure that today's conference, with the kind of response it has attracted, will be a very important milestone in the history of Madhya Pradesh's development and certainly in the history of India's growth story. I once again compliment Shri Shivraj Singh Chauhan and his entire team of ministers, his civil servants, his advisors, for having taken this great initiative, and I wish him, all the investors in Madhya Pradesh and the people of Madhya Pradesh the very best for the years to come. Thank you.